I was here already, so don't continue applauding, please. Yes, well, now that you've all been woken up on China, here's another high-energy session. It's our annual Dotcoms to watch session, and we have a wonderful lineup. They're all here in the front. And what is a bit different this year is that we are not just showing you new Dotcoms, exciting as they are. You will see them also. But for the first time, we have also a more thorough piece of research underlying it, because we start with a talk by Yvonne Campfens, and she has started a survey, a research on what happened to all the Dotcoms in our area. And I think over the past maybe 10 years or so, each year you saw 4 or 5 of them. But Yvonne found 121 of them, and has since 2008, and she's been looking what happened with them. Where have those Dotcoms gone? And Yvonne has a long history in our STM sector. I think she started around 25 years ago. I know that because we worked a lot together in those days. And she's been in several of the biggest science publishers like Elsevier, Springer Nature. She also had a long time at Swets. And she's now independent and full of knowledge about what's happening on the frontier of startups. Yvonne, can I invite you to the floor? And I would like to ask our Dotcom presenters to take a seat here at behind the table, please. And first a hand for Yvonne, please.
We'll wait for my new friends to get seated. Thank you, Eefke. Thank you, Arne. Well, as Eefke says, over the last 10 years, I have seen so many new names enter into research workflows and scholarly communications. Some well-known ones are Pablons, Altmetrics, Mendeley, Kudos, and so on. And all these players have the ambition to improve on existing solutions or provide new answers to new requirements, from literature review all the way through to post-publication impact. And I have met a lot of these new players, and some 4 new friends are here at the table, and I'm impressed by their energy and their passion to make improvements to science, to scholarly communications, but also in many instances to advance the world and make improvements to our lives. So amongst all these exciting things, I was picking up signals and sentiment that innovation in our industry is slow, and that all these cool startups get bought up by Clarivate and Elsevier anyway. So what's the whole point? And I thought, what is really happening here? And first some theory, and already yesterday also I think Judy referred to some theory, and I'm quoting a McKinsey study that talks about digital disruption and claims that established companies aren't often looking for, and sometimes don't even want to see, new developments on the horizon. And coming at it from a completely background is a Chilean author, Roberto Bolano, who says something similar, and it is, people see what they want to see, and what people want to see never has anything to do with the truth. Well, that's a big claim. So what is the truth? Well, that's a bit too much. But I thought, I don't want to believe any of these views or statements until I had investigated myself. So I decided to do this market research. But before I present on that, what is your perspective? And another famous quote is, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. So my question, who do we have in the room? I think I kind of know, but who's here from the top 10 publishers? Yeah. Who's here maybe from society, publishers, university presses? Cool. And library, research? Great. Cool. So bear maybe in mind when we're talking about all these developments that apparently we are often driven by how we are looking at our own world by looking at new developments. So what's really going on? I was asking myself a couple of questions. Is there innovation then, or is it just limited? And where is it? Is it with the big players or with new startups? And if it is with these new startups, what's really happening with them? So my market research, as Eefke mentioned, has actually focused on a sample of 120 of these new startups, independent, for profit, and all founded between 2007 and 2017. And I have to say that any conclusions are explicitly only valid for the sample that I looked at. Today I will be presenting the first high-level results, and the full report is available from OSF and underlying data from Zenodo. So how did I go about my research? I also did literature research. It's my new Bible. I can recommend it if you're interested in this topic. So I did desk research, literature research, web research, also qualitative research. I talked to many people, did some interviews, and had personal communication. But also an important source has been this event, all of the Dotcoms that have been pitching over the last 10 years, also presenting at STM innovation seminars over the years, the ALPSP award nominees, also the outsell companies to watch that are published every year in their annual report. So these were all going into the mix to create my long list. But who I should also give a lot of credit is the University of Utrecht, Bianca Kramer and Jeroen Bosman, because I happily, gratefully built on what they've done in 2015 and 16, doing a survey amongst 20,000 researchers and asking them about the tools they use throughout the research cycle. What I've also used from them is the classification of the different research cycles to identify in what areas and phases of the research cycle these startups were active. Building on their database, the ALPSP, APE, STM sources, and so on, got me to a list of over 800. Well, I should immediately say that these are not all new entrants, so I had to filter those out. This all did include startups, collaborative projects, launches by established commercial companies, university initiatives, solutions by individuals, EU-funded projects, initiatives subsidized or sponsored by foundations. That's all in the 800. So I thought, let's look at what I assumed was a very interesting subset. So I filtered and got to this list of 120, which are all new players, established between 2007 and 17, independent, totally independent, so not linked to any established organization or company. For profit is what I chose, and active in original research. And I think the fact that I was able, with all these limitations and filtering, to find 120, I think is already a striking conclusion. So then, now that I found some first answers about innovation being out there and being there with independent, autonomous, new players, I could dive deeper, and I used Crunchbase and the Next Web Index mostly to find out what happens. How are they doing? Do they still exist? And if so, how are they doing? The results. And I repeat, explicitly valid only for the subset of 120, but I think still very interesting and also asking for more research in this area. So the first conclusion is that these all exist, and actually 77%, so 92 out of my sample, exist independently in 2018. So we're actually not acquired at all. They are autonomous, independently out there and creating innovation, not from established parties, but by themselves. I think that is a very interesting conclusion. And some examples here: TriNetX, iAnnotate, Benchlink, Penelope, GoodNotes, all people who started in the last 10 years and are still around independently. Then I was really curious, how are they doing? And there I had a challenge finding data. There was something in the Utrecht research on usage and take-up, obviously, because that was the scope of their research, but it was already a little bit outdated. Plus, it's really difficult, and I keep on searching to find more information about customers, brand loyalty, usage, researcher uptake of their services. What is, of course, also always an indicator is financial KPIs. And with respect to funding, I was able to find quite a bit. For 1/3 of the independent startups, I could find information about their funding. And I think it is amazing that even for only the 30 that I found this kind of information on, 10, so 8% out of the 92, got more than 25 million. So when we talk about new kits or not yet proven their existence and their presence, I think this is an indication that there is confidence and a proof for their activities. The ones with most funding, just to give you a couple of names, Asana, Science Exchange, Protocols.io, and I should also mention here, of course, strategic investor Digital Science, who's invested in 6 out of the 120 in my sample. Acquisitions. So they're all taken over by Elsevier and Clarivate, right? Or after you've been here, you are being taken over by Elsevier or Clarivate, mind you. That's also really not true. 25 of the startups were actually taken over by 2018, and 2 were taken over twice, so that's also quite interesting. I think one of the most interesting findings here is that actually 2/3 are not taken over by traditional publishers at all, but by completely different players like biotech companies, data analytics companies, media, IP copyright. I think it's really interesting to see that 2/3 are not taken over by publishers. And then within the ones that are, obviously, is the 3 obvious ones that were taken over by Elsevier. So examples of other acquisitions: EasyBib, RevMe by Czech, Expernova, Wizfolio, of course Publons and Comperio by Clarivate, and Plum, Hivebench, Mendeley by Elsevier. Okay, now, so what? I already mentioned this fantastic book, and the subtitle is How to Accelerate Growth Through Collaboration with Startups. So how would you do that? How to survive in times of radical innovation, and how to accelerate mutual growth. Well, this is, the quality isn't the best, but I think it's an amazing concept that these authors have come up with, and it's the power of networks and ecosystems. They talk about connecting the old and the new world, upgrading the mothership, which is needed, who can provide financial resources and provide continuity, while surrounding yourself with a fleet of speedboats that allow for outside-in innovation. Build a true ecosystem of value with a shared vision and fleet course. I've happily quoted from this book. But how? How? And you see the 4 speakers, I've plugged them in as examples of partnerships that you could consider. Now, how? It really depends where you are in the process yourself. If you're one of the more established organizations and would like to partner with startups for innovation, are you in a so-called earn phase? Are you looking for financial results? Learn? Do you want to work with them maybe to learn more about new technology or explore things? Or to turn your company culture around and truly move to innovation? Again, Judy mentioned it yesterday. In this space, a lot of people talk about the true north. What is your North Star vision? And another question, referring back to the quote of looking at things driven by how you are, asking yourself the question, what business am I really in? What sector am I really in? If these questions have been addressed, the right model of engagement can be determined. And that also determines on the age and the stage that startups are in, obviously. And it doesn't have to be an acquisition. I always hear people say, oh, but we're really small, we cannot afford to buy one startup. Well, you don't have to. There is also, of course, in equity partnering, different models, but it doesn't have to be through equity. And last but not least, the third option, you can also simply become a customer and work with them. Now, I'm already here at my last slide. I hope I'm doing fine in terms of time. The key takeaways, I think, are really fairly simple. I found that there is lots of innovation. If we go back to how we define these startups and the new entrants, trying to find for better or different solutions to things that are already being addressed, but they try to do it in a better way, or actually find solutions to new needs that are out there. I think there's lots of innovation. And again, the 120 is just a subset, and there is much more. There's many more that I didn't even look at. I think the second exciting message is that a lot of them are available independently for you to partner with. So it's not the case that they're all taken over. There is lots of players around and new ones keep on coming up that you can work with in many different ways, and that is the third message. There is a variety of models in terms of technical things, financial, but also operationally to work with these players. And the last send-away thing to think about is indeed really what business are you in, what sector are you in, and how would this help you to create a mutual win-win growth situation for yourself and the partners who are now going to pitch themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. That is really a very nice overview. And as you can see, if you're not Elsevier or if you're not Clarivate and you still want to take over one of these startups, there are plenty of them available. And we have a nice lineup here. Each of you will get 5 minutes, no more, because after that I'll kick you off stage. And just to give you the lineup very quickly, we have Arne Smolders of Academic Labs, we have Niklas Dorn of File Stage, we have Roman Gurinovich of SCI.ai, and we have Sami Benchekroun of Morressier. And we're going to start with Arne Smolders, who was a researcher himself. He did research in the biology of aging, and you wrote that you tried to slow down aging. So if you have the solution, would you tell me and not anybody else, please? And but he left the golden PhD cage, as he calls it, and decided to be entrepreneurial and come with solutions to make research more transparent and do something on matchmaking. And the keywords here are a LinkedIn for science, a one-stop shop, a community building tool. Arne, please come and tell it yourself. And really only 5 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. I have an announcement about aging. It won't work for people older than 25. So we're working on solutions, and it only works if you're still young to stay young. But the old people will stay old, and I don't think you want that. So that's about the aging part, but and I wasn't able to find the clues, so I thought, let's quit and do something else and find another big opportunity in the market, which could also help the older people here. So that's how I started Academic Labs. And the idea was to bring transparency in this whole very fragmented research environment, ecosystem. So to help everyone with a big idea, be it in aging or something else, to find the right partners and realize the breakthrough discoveries. So during my PhD time, when I started, it was horrible. The first 3 months, I couldn't find in the literature what to focus on. There's so much out there. After a while, I noticed if I would be able to find what are the key labs in my niche area and what are they doing currently, and then figure out, okay, these are some areas I could focus on where nobody else is focusing on, or I could collaborate with these parties, that would help me a lot during my PhD. But after 3 months, I got like 3 requests for collaborations, and in 6 weeks' time, I had 3 papers by just doing experiments based on a cool tool that we developed. But it was not published yet, but people knew about it by presenting at the conference by a previous colleague. So in these collaborations, I saw the power of really collaborating, not doing much work. You get papers, you build up your resume, etc. But it was very hard to attract more partners, because we had this great tool that could solve a lot of problems, but nobody knew about it. Only after 3 years, when it got published, we got 50 requests, but I already left. So I thought, how can we solve this? So I joined the business plan competition, I won it, I quit my PhD, I got broke, but just raised investment just in time. And I got in touch with an organization that invited me, 25 big R&D companies with a big R&D center in Belgium. And they said, we need you. We are more and more externalizing our research. We need to connect with the right research partners in academia, small spin-offs, biotech firms, etc. But it's so hard to find the right partners. And they need it for different reasons. We have the R&D people who need to know what are they currently doing in academia on certain topics. And in publications, that's too outdated. They want to know what's currently happening with publications. That's research being conceptualized 5 years ago. And every minute counts in pharma, for example. Business development wants to know which are the labs that are business savvy, that have potentially new interesting technologies, etc. It's very hard for them to find it, because it's such a big mess out there. So very practically, how did they do it? We talked with dozens of pharmaceutical companies, and this is the general idea. Needs and challenges are surfaced to the upper regions, to the R&D directors, partnership directors. So they have this big list of needs and challenges. And once in a while, they reach out to their personal networks, which is very limited. They go to conferences, but that's not very timely, not a very efficient approach. They go to the university that's close to them, or the top universities, and get in touch with them, or check their website. But it's very hard on these websites to find the right information. So I don't like to do that. And for publications, it's too outdated for their needs. So they check it for other reasons, but not to find partners. So now they reach out more and more to universities. They reach out to the tech transfer director, and they share this list of needs. And the tech transfer director or the business developers look internally, who the hell is doing something related to these needs, who could solve something about that. And that's already difficult, because even within a single university, it's an archipel of islands. It's very hard to find the right people. And then they ask these professors, if they find them, can you fill in this form that this company shared with us? What's the mission? Where are they heading? What are the current topics? How big is the team? Key publications? Do they have partnerships with industry, etc.? So a lot of administration every time filling in this form. This is collected by the tech transfer director, sent back to the partnership director. He prints the PDF. He looks at it. He sends the right information to the people internally. So is this the delightful experience that Amazon and Uber provides them, what they're used to on a daily basis? They reach a few universities in this approach, and it takes them 3 to 12 months. So it's very inefficient. So what we did, we talked with dozens of pharmaceutical companies, with top universities across the globe. We went to China with the China Medical City, 900 biotech firms. We went to Japan, to US, etc., to understand and to work together with them, how can we present the academic world in a very compelling and interesting, comprehensive way, so they could, on the spot, find the right partners, that everything in this world is at their fingertips. So they can find partners instead of for months, it takes just minutes, from reaching 10 universities to hundreds or even thousands. And research groups should be known not by the few people that know them, but being discovered globally based on their competencies. So that's what we built, and we're going live within a few weeks. It's a single platform where you can find all research groups with a comprehensive overview of who's doing what, what's their mission, where are they heading, the current research topics, their publications, their projects, clinical trials, what they're interested in, how open are they to collaborating, do they offer services, technology offers, etc. We bring it all together per research group, so you can easily find the right partners, you can evaluate them, you can get in touch. You could even bring them together in a consortium, for example, Horizon 2020 consortium, in a private environment on our system, and collaborate effectively with one another to facilitate the whole workflow of finding partners and collaborating. So by the end of Q1, we will have top 200 universities in Europe, more than 40,000 labs and research topics are currently working on. We have PubMed integrated at the moment. We're expanding to 100 million publications in the next month. We have the European projects, we have the funding calls, we have the clinical trials, etc., etc. We're continuously expanding. And that's why I'm also here, to understand if you guys see some interesting collaborations, where can we provide value to you with our data? If you want to find Wang Wei in China, and you find them, okay, one way of this research group is focusing on this. And we link ORCID, of course, so you can find this information easily, expand it with data on our platform. So they could, one way could use our system as their website, their group profile as their website. So if you see potential for collaboration, I'll be happy to talk with you. And my colleague Francesca is also here, so I put it on a big screen so you recognize
Pushing
this.
you
Thank
away
you.
now. It's good, huh? And because I pushed you away, you couldn't say how many awards you already won, even before starting and all the funding. But we'll get to that in the discussion. Our next startup is File Stage. And Niklas Dorn is here. He's from Stuttgart. He went to the Media University there and decided to start his own company first to make the interactions easier between advertisers and media companies, but then it quickly grew to all kind of software solutions to share stuff and to collaborate on stuff, especially visual stuff, I understand. Niklas, come and tell us more about it.
Okay, hi everybody. So my name is Niklas. I'm from the German tech company Stage. I want to introduce you today to the topic of select crowd review. We have a cooperation with Team publishers. Yeah, we can talk about it later if you're interested in. What we found out, or what we believed in, is that peer review really reached its breaking point. Because if you look at the numbers, it takes on average up to 130 days, or it takes on average 130 days from reviewing something to publishing it. And if you have like the eyes of a researcher, this is like enormous time. So definitely 130 days, somebody else can steal your idea, can be faster than you. The research can already be outdated, so it's like a big number. The major problems we identified with peer review, the classical process, as you can see, it's a slow process. But it's also, there's a high risk of bias, because if you just share something with 2 to 4 people, reviewers, they maybe have a bad day, or they may be biased because they already know you or something like that. So there's a high likelihood that, yeah, you don't get the review maybe that you deserve. And last point is, if you share stuff via email in an unprotected way, you always have a problem with security. Yeah. So I took this picture because I really like it, and I think this is something we're looking at right now. So as you can see, peer review, it started in the 18th century. It is a good process. It was an efficient process, but we still use it nowadays. But nowadays something changed. In the 21st century we have technology, beautiful technology. We have a worldwide network of researchers. They all work together, and we still use this old process. So for us it was a bit like, okay, why don't we change anything here? And yeah, that's how the idea was born, about having instead like a different process, which is called select crowd review. So instead of sharing a paper with the old process, you share it with the crowd in a secure crowd level in the web, and then up to 100 people can comment together anonymously and review the paper. This concept was originally developed by Professor Benjamin List. He works with Team publishers, with Synlet. You might know him. And he actually first started it. So the last couple of years we did a lot of tests, we did pilots, and here's a quick video I wanted to share with you. So if you could start the video real quick. Okay, can you start the video, please? So what you can see is that you can interact on this paper together. The dots mark like comments from researchers, from reviewers, and it doesn't matter where you are, and if you're in the office, at the airport, at home, you can comment together and work on this. And these are like comments from reviewers that took part in our research. and really reviewed like papers together. All right, thank you. Yeah. And yeah, the thing is what you've seen here, and what we actually were impressed ourselves, because it all started as a pilot. Now I cannot switch the slides anymore. Yeah, perfect. Is on the one side, we got higher quality by doing select crowd review instead of the classical peer review. So actually we did a comparison study, or Benjamin List did it, and he found out, yes, and for me this seems a bit logical if you ask 50 people to give a feedback, that you have like a more normal Gaussian distribution than if you just ask 2 to 4 people. It's just statistics. The more important fact is, instead of a couple of months, it just took 72 hours to finish a review with up to 100 people altogether. And afterwards, you know, is it approved or not approved? Yeah. Thirdly, it's 100% anonymous. It's secure because it's in a protected crowd environment, so it's encrypted. So not everybody can access, it's just a selected crowd. And more importantly, the reviewers can interact with each other. So they see the comments of other reviewers, they can reply, they can discuss. And lastly, I think as a reviewer, what's your motivation to take part in this? One big motivation I personally see as well is like, okay, you really want to get something out of it. You want to have a discussion. If you just do it yourself, it might be a bit less fun than talking with other scientists about actual research. Yeah. All right. There was also some media coverage in Nature and other magazines. If you're interested in that, you can look it up if you just Google for crowd review. Papers, you will also find them on the Team Publishers website, Team Chemistry website. Yeah. And also, if you like to talk about it, right now, this is, I think, yeah, this is the first conference we talk about crowd review. So if you're interested, you won't find anything on our website now. You need to talk to me, or you need to Daniel Schiff from Team Publishers. Yeah, feel free to. Thank you.
Thank you, Niklas. That was a perfect 5 minutes. Next one in line is Roman Gurinovich. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. Good, thank you. Roman is from Belarus, but divides his time between Poland and Belarus, if I understand well, if you're not traveling to conferences like here. And he also has a science background. He's an engineer and an economist, and at a certain point, the impatience of the young grabbed him, because he finds that science and research goes far too slow. So his aim is to speed it all up by clever tools, and his mission is to create the artificial scientist. So that intrigues us all. Roman, come and tell us all about it in 5 minutes.
Yes, thanks so much for this kind introduction. I'm Roman from SCI.ai, and we create systems that connect facts across biomedical data to generate new knowledge. And this way, scientists, instead of reading 5-10 papers per month, can receive answer to his or her question as a whole from thousands of papers. So my today's topic actually is inspired by one very fundamental question that I was asked by a very wise gentleman, 3 years old at this moment, and that's my son. And the question is, in original, sounds like, and then? So imagine dialogue like, let's go outside and play football. Well, and then? Well, we can go and eat ice cream. And then? Or some more substantial discussion, you know, like, I found spare parts, let's build a rocket. Wow, and what we'll do? Well, you can be a captain, I will be your crew, and we can fly to stars. And what we'll do there? You know, so you see that with proper number of iterations, one can easily penetrate into the questions and like sense of life and deepest secrets of universe. And of course, today we will not go so deep. You can easily do this exercise at home. And today we'll just discuss a new way of delivering publishing value and new business models and revenue streams following it. So, how and then methodology actually can help us? Because first, papers are published in digital form. Okay, and then they convert in beautiful PDFs, and then one day all of them will become open access. And then, so our team periodically receives a question. Could you extract all entities containing in our papers? Or could you find which of our papers are talking, for example, signaling pathways? Of course we can. But interesting, what is the reason of such questions? Maybe because it's like, because of inventing problem first, and then inventing solution for this problem. Because natural language is very beautiful and expressive, but at the same time it is fuzzy by structure, it is categorical by meaning, and it is a little bit loosey encoding base for the scientific data. And attempt to describe tiny particles with natural language leads to all the challenges we have by Googling data and processing it with NLP algorithms. And in any case, we already reached the point when nobody can read 2 million of papers published annually, so beautiful PDFs are not helping to transfer knowledge in any way. So instead, research communication can be simplified dramatically by publishing whole experimental data plus small, concise textual description on top. And it's easy, right? And this way, machines can use this boring, detailed data, and humans can read very easy description on top of it. And of course, data publishing leads to new business value and new business models. So biomedical research community actually impatiently waits for detailed data, and pharmaceutical companies are ready to pay for data and analysis on top of it. Especially for the things that can deliver therapies to the market and novel discoveries. So, key take-home messages are, data publishing is a right way to communicate science because of the level of detailization it provides. It is super easy, and it is a new revenue generator. So, thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, so now I can only say, and then. And then we have Sami Benchekroun of Morressier. I forgot what Morressier stands for. I think he was a scientist, wasn't it? Or was he?
It's a sailor, actually.
Oh, a sailor, a pioneer, an explorer. Okay, Sami is the CEO of Morressier.com. And he comes with a business school background, and you're actually back on home ground, I understand. You were born in Berlin, but he lived everywhere around the world, Paris, Montreal, London, Cape Town, and now you have Morressier. But Morressier is based in Paris, is that correct?
No, in Berlin.
Oh, actually in Berlin, 500 meters down the road. Oh, even better. Morressier is... aims to accelerate scientific breakthroughs by sharing pre-published research in a very early stage. Please come and tell us about it. 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. I think I win the prize for the closest arrival here, so 500 meters is really close. So I'm one of the founders of Morressier. We like to showcase how research and how scientists work like that, right? There's a brilliant idea in the beginning, and in the end, scientists and author want to be published in one of those great journals, which is on the right side. So there's a lot that happens on the right side, on that side that we call the accessible side, and then there's this big chunk of research process that we like to see as quite inaccessible and rather hidden. So everything that I'm going to tell you is really focused on that hidden and early stage research area, right? So you see some points. So we see the path of the researcher. You know, there are some milestones. There's some sort of formats that are created throughout the process, and most of them are actually happening on scientific conferences. So what we have decided is to work very closely with scientific conferences around the world. Now, in the digital age, we believe that conferences are quite those modern style events, but we saw everywhere around the world that scientific conferences have actually a very classical format, right? You see all around the world scientific posters that are printed out, scientists in the tubes, in the airplanes, right, flying from all around the world. So you have a very dense time, 2, 3, 4 day conference or something like that, where you have an exchange, but somewhat the exchange is really close to these 2, 3 days. So if you ask yourself a week after or 2 weeks after the conference, you know, what happened on that conference, you have a hard time to actually get access to that content. Or if you want to present before the conference, there's no way to actually get access to it. So what we decided on is, you know, let's try to change the conference and make something very simple. Let's take it from the offline world and make it online, right? No fancy AI, no NLP, nothing fancy, just from offline to online. And that's what we did. So when working now with scientific institutions that organize conferences, or universities that organize conference, we lead them through this entire process. So we organize the content management, we enable an uploading, so a very straightforward content management platform. We created an app, so it's very, very easy to interact with posters and presentation on the conference. And after that, we have the ability to actually analyze, right? So a paper poster is hard to analyze. Digital posters or presentation are better to analyze. Now, through the work with the conferences that we do now since 3 or 4 years, we have actually created one of the largest platforms for conference content, conference posters, presentations, and abstracts. So what we have done is we gathered everything on one single platform, which looks like that. So you can basically type in every word, every keyword, everything that you want to, author names, conference names, university names, and you can find the related content that was presented on one of these conferences around the world. So in high season, we grow quite fast, and we have now a platform with researchers from over 8,000 institutions on there that interact heavily and search for their content. So what is our mission and vision behind that? We believe by actually working together in the very earliest stages that we can connect all the dots together and see, all right, this paper was once this poster, was once this presentation, so we can basically track the entire time and all the iterations on our platform. So what we do is we work together with scientific institutions and universities on one hand side. What we do is we focus a lot on attribution, so we try to really structure all that data. What we have found out that this is a great support for early career researchers, because that's where they are. So we try to help them a lot by our software. We support with discovery and dissemination, offer metrics, or integrate into universities' repositories as well, and obviously help them also in organizing all the conference and meetings that they do. On the other hand, we also partner with publishers. We do a lot of workshop in order to find out how can we kind of integrate the content pieces, how can we kind of connect the journal paper with everything that we have on our platform, and there's some interesting ideas that came along that. So throughout the time, we have actually partnered with quite some great association from all around the world, and we look forward, to partnering with more. So if you're interested to talk to me, I'll be here the entire day, and look forward. Was it 5 minutes? Yes. Brilliant, yeah.
Very good. Sorry. Is this one? Yeah. It works. You've been listening quite a bit, although there was plenty of energy coming from these startups, I think. But I would like now to interact a bit more with the audience. We have many people here with a lot of experience in our STM sector, and we have some very young, ambitious pioneers here. And my first question is there anybody, preferably of a bit more senior level, who could give some real advice to any of these young entrants? Who can I see Bob there in the back. Can somebody bring him? The microphone's coming, Bob.
Well, you did say somebody's senior. I hope I qualify at least through age.
Against aging.
Well, yes. Interesting. There are no women on the panel here. All men with their new companies. Lots of ideas. Things like peer review, which is, if I mean 50 years in publishing, we've never answered that question. When I started in 1968. Feeling a bit insecure in a small publishing company, just got married, and my new colleagues said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I want a career in publishing." And they said, "Well, journal publishing won't last another 2 years maximum, because we can't get anybody to do the peer review." That's 1968. And here we are 50 years later, and actually peer review is being run more effectively. And I think it's a really good idea, what you're talking about. But my question really is, how are any of you going to charge for this? None of you seem to address that vital link, or the question for you all is, where is the money?
Who dares to start? Maybe you? Yeah, you?
Is money involved, yeah? We actually take two approaches. We are a classical startup here in Berlin. The venture capital scene is quite active here. So let's say that is the approach that we take to actually, get it going. And then a second thing is really that path of iteration. So the business model wasn't there from the very, very beginning. We figured it out throughout the way with the help of venture capital. That is a quite easy approach to say, all right, we can fail a couple of times with figuring out the right business model, and then once we have it, then we can execute on that. So that's how we did it, with the help of venture capital.
Well, yeah, you're talking about business model. I was quite surprised when I looked some of you up that some of you have a lot of funding, actually. Wasn't it you, Arne, that was a help? Oh, yeah, yeah. You received a lot of funding, didn't you?
Well, it depends what is a lot. If I look here, I think it's very minimalistic. But maybe first to answer the question, we are lucky to be at an interface between industry and university where there's a lot of money involved. We work with the pharmaceutical industry, and they happen to be having lots of cash for pilots. And if we show the value, we can easily go on a larger scale. So that's an interesting part. And then at the university side, we are more at the tech transfer side, where they, via our platform, they get more money coming into the university via industry, via European projects. So there's also an opportunity for us there. So that's where we are mostly focusing on, business model-wise. And we got some funding from, we mostly focused on the industry side to have some really interesting business angels with huge networks at the CTO level of large multinationals that can get us through any door with the large companies, with a huge global network, etc. And then we have some larger investor, which also has a long-term view, because we don't want to build something and get out within 2 years. We want to provide a lot of value in the long term. We see a lot of potential for our platform. So we chose partners that are in for it for the long term.
So business angels, business models. Oh, Annie, I see you. Do you have some good advice for any of these?
I won't be the judge of whether this is good advice, but I will share some experiences. Annie Callanan, Taylor, and Francis. I get wildly enthusiastic about this kind of a session, and I want to applaud incredible ideas here, and I'm very excited to talk to all of you. I hope you will contact us. In terms of advice, I think a little bit of a theme from where Bob, I think, might have been going, but it's really easy to get excited, and I've been on the entrepreneurial side too, to get really excited about talking about what can be done and what does the technology do, and we can all get really enthusiastic about it. But I think someone said it earlier, find your way as quickly as you can to the problem statement and really, really embrace it. Because what happens is when you are taking in money, whether it's public or it's VC money or other sources of funds, it's very quickly and easily problematic because you feel like, okay, the pain point has gone away. You don't have that sort of value statement staring right at you. And anything that does create value, which is what you need to focus on, will in fact create a revenue stream. And without that, it's going to be wild and exciting, but it won't necessarily be sustainable. So that is my best advice. And the other thing I learned from spending many years out in Silicon Valley was, figure out how to help us, the larger organizations, with rapid sandboxing. Because if we can quickly prototype some of these ideas in a practical environment, we can quickly find our way to either success or failure, and it's that speed of validation that I think helps both parties. Otherwise, you can quickly get kind of immersed in feeling good about a lot of things happening, but not necessarily about a lot of value being created. So, but I was really excited by your presentations today, and congratulations on all your success. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. That's very nice. So, solving a real problem and early sandboxing in partnerships. Niklas, that sounds like something you do. Would you like to comment?
Sure. First of all, thanks a lot. I think, yes, it always makes sense to start first with the problem. So also about the previous comment. So first of all, it's very important to be clear about the problem you want to solve and to find out if it's a real problem or just some beautiful technology you use or something. If you're sure that you solve a problem, then I think the next step is to find out how much value do you bring to the one you solve the problem for. And this, in the end, I think is the indicator of what you can make in terms of business and money. I think that's the most important. How much value do you really bring in? And lastly, for sure, you need to make sure that the people you bring the value to are also capable to pay it. Otherwise, let's say you bring a lot of value to freelancers, and in the end, they can all pay you $1 per month or per year. Okay, maybe it's not a good business model, but I think if you go through it like that, then it makes a lot of sense, and this is what we currently do with FiStage. So in the end, it's all about talking to the customers, finding the problem, solving the problem, evaluating the value that you bring in, and then business and money, I think, is the last step.
Thank you. I have a question related to Roman, because you started with a problem that you faced yourself. You found science going too slow. But how do you know whether this is a problem that can be, well, let's say, monetized or turned into a business model? Or
question. Yes, indeed, we had several pivots. Actually, I found out of discussions with my colleagues, especially from technical sector, it's a quite natural feeling for all of us that things outside are going slow. Because in tech sector we have things like GitHub, for example, we have technologies like Wiki and Documents Exchange, and everything is going super fast. Let's say relatively, still slow, and companies like Samsung are setting up pace of major deliveries twice per year. And when we are going on this indefinite optimism going on in biology, for example, when everybody is researching something, I'm sorry, but it's very important because, of course, it's the nature of the biology itself. It's not easy. It's super hard. That's why it's going on. Then, as technical person, over formal sometimes, you start to think, okay, what we can deliver to speed up this process and make it more definite. And that is why, by understanding this, let's say that there is a problem, and of course, by actually maybe also very, a little bit selfish one problem, actually it's also related to aging, because yes, we want to deliver solution within our lifetime, we want to deliver solution within maximum within lifetime of our kids. That's why we understood that yes, we need to do things ourselves, and what is the best way? When you have expertise, like in our case, in data analysis, when you understand that, okay, data at this moment is delivered in like tiny, disjoint, sparse portion to every individual researcher. In our case, it was like quite organic and easy to realize, okay, what if we will generate, with the help of machines, new knowledge, and then humans supervise and validate these discoveries in laboratories and clinical trials and so on and so forth. So you see, it was like quite organic. Of course, a lot of self-reflection, but nevertheless.
Well, that's important too.
Yeah.
I have a question to Yvonne now, because you've been sort of looking at the whole field, what's happening there, and some define success by money, funding, having customers, having paying customers, get users. How do you define the success of a startup? And can we predict the success of a startup?
Well, Eefke, on that last question, I have to disappoint you that based on my research, I cannot answer that question. And as I already mentioned, there were many more things I would have wanted to find out about these guys and their colleagues that don't seem to be so easy to get to. I already mentioned number of customers and usage and satisfaction and take up. Of course, also the quality of the customers, because a number is just a number. It's also about the longer term quality. I will keep on looking into that. So yeah, I think what is left, I will continue the research with a slightly different data set, because as I mentioned, 2007-17, what I found out, I was just a random 10-year that I took. I will look at the younger ones more carefully and probably leave off some of the more established ones by now that also already have such huge amounts of funding, because obviously the funding and revenue, and that was the more difficult number. I have some data on revenue as well, but I quickly found out that that is not always reliable and very often not made public. So quite traditional, but yes, financial indicators like funding and revenue are an indicator for success. But what I will definitely also continue to look into is the more qualitative side of what these guys themselves define as success. And there also, it would be awesome to find out more of how that is linked to all the kind of developments that also have been addressed in this conference these 2 days about disruption in the industry, the open science roadmap, and all other things. Because you could also ask yourself the question, to what extent are these new initiatives actually addressing the challenges ahead of us that may have nothing to do in the short term with financial KPIs?
Okay. Yeah, you're speeding me up, huh? Yeah. I have 2 or 3 more questions to do, but I'll do them quick. So I want only one word of you. If you had to define your own success, you know, in 2 or 3 years, the next 2 or 3 years, what is it?
Start there.
Start there. Okay. This already gave you a few more seconds to think about it. What would define your success? One word.
One word. Sustainability.
Oh, goodness. What does that mean?
So we defined the NPS score, so customer happiness. Yeah.
Customer happiness.
I'm sorry, not one word, and not in 3 years, maybe in 100 years, there will be no ICD-10, no disease classifier at all. It will be eliminated from our vocabulary.
Oh, wow.
It's a word with a hyphen in between. Fully integrated. So.
Fully integrated. Okay, very good. Now we're going to do our cruel game. You know, we always do a cruel game at the end of this session. If the first measure of success is having customers or having partners, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand one by one if you find this startup exciting enough to work with them. We start with academic labs. Hands up.
I'll take a picture.
Yeah, take a picture, because they will be your new customers, yes. He's available over coffee. SCI.ai. Will you remember who they are? Crowd peer review, file stage. Shouldn't you take a picture too? Hands up again. Oh yeah, I know, they'll shoot us. Morressier. Okay, very good. You're the winner already. You're the winner. It was more. Yeah. Okay, and then the next question is, who would you invest in? Minority equity, majority equity, full takeover? How about academic labs? Oh, you see? I told you, if you come here, you can be sold in 6 months. SCI.ai. Oh, you have to work a bit harder on it. File stage. Morressier. Okay, and now the hardest question of all. Who's still around 5 years from now? Academic labs. SCI.ai. File stage. Morressier. Okay, we'll invite you again and see how it works. Thank you for your attention. And thank you to all the speakers.